Hello, I'm Sevil Mikhailova.
And I'm Claude Salhani, and this is This Week in Focus. And this week we have a guest with us in the studio, Ariel Cohen from Washington, D.C., who is the director of Center for Energy, Natural Resources, and Geopolitics. That's a mouthful, Ariel, and an important title. I'm sure you will give us a lot of information today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure, always. Ariel, let me start off by asking you this. By announcing the suspension of gas supplies through Ukraine after 2019, Russia, in fact, is delivering an ultimatum to Europe. Will Moscow fulfill these threats? And if yes, what would likely be the results of that?
Claude, it's an unfortunate situation that a major country, a major power, is dictating now to Europe the conditions under which it's willing to supply its 27% of energy. And this is happening when pro-Russian forces with great Moscow support are fighting already for over a year in Ukraine. I think that the signal to Brussels and to European capitals is loud and clear. They have to diminish their dependence on Russian energy. Mm-hmm. They have to increase the supply of natural gas to Europe from other geographic locations, such as Azerbaijan. But also at the same time, they have to think about alternative sources of gas, such as LNG, liquid natural gas, and shale gas in Europe, but also geographically bring gas from Eastern Med, from northern Iraq, Kurdistan, and from other places. They also cannot destroy, as some forces in Europe are trying, they cannot destroy nuclear and coal.
Let me ask you this, though. Will that not rile Russia even more? Will it not like waking up a beehive? And then what will likely be Moscow's reaction? Putin is not going to take this sitting down.
No, but Putin said he wants to sell more gas to China, and more power to him. It is extremely expensive. It is also an opaque proposition, meaning it's not transparent. I try to understand what the price that they negotiated with China, what the conditions, where the funding is going to come from. And there are no clear questions. I'm not sure the Russians themselves know. The other thing I want to point out is that even if they build the Turkish stream, which creates a lot of problems for South gas corridor, for South Stream, and for TANAP, Trans-Anatolian Pipeline, and TAP, Trans-Adriatic Pipeline. Even if they manage to do that, which is a cost of $30 billion, and to do the Power of Siberia, big pipe from eastern Siberia for $100 billion, and Altai pipeline from western Siberia, altogether, I just don't see Russia capable of bringing that kind of financing to the table.
And Ariel, it's very interesting. How will be the future of Europe's energy supplies once Russia decides to go out of the European market? So how do you view the future of this market?
I don't think Russia is going out of the European market. Russia is trying to negotiate, but it's not negotiating as a team member. It's not negotiating as a part of the European energy environment, energy universe. It is negotiating as an outsider with threats, with bribes in some cases, with projects that are problematic for Europe, such as South Streams that the EU said, no, you cannot do it on the conditions. And with the Turk Stream, Europe needs to put its foot down, in my view, and say, you cannot be monopolistic, you cannot provide conditions such as pay or take or pay. You cannot have the final destination clauses. If one company buys that gas, it should be allowed to resell it to whoever needs that gas. And more importantly, most important, the Europeans need to look both at the business side, at the environmental side, and at the economic side. And from the economic side, if they build interconnectors that allow to bring gas, for example, from the terminals in Spain or elsewhere to France and further east, or to bring gas to the northern coast of the Baltic Sea and then bring it south, that will improve the negotiating position of Europe.
And what about the Turkish stream? So Russia has offered its alternative to the Southern Gas Corridor. And how do you this rivalry between these two pipelines?
Well, I talked to top energy experts who are of opinion that both systems, the TANAP, TAP, Trans-Anatolian pipeline that brings the Caspian reserves, and the Russian system, will not be feasible together. It will be either or, and we hope that Turkey fulfills its brotherly duty to Azerbaijan, helps Azerbaijan to bring that gas, and we also hope that we can build something like a Turkic pipeline, Turkmenistan, Azerbaijan, Turkey, and then sell this gas to Europe. I think Turkey should also consider playing a positive role in the Eastern Med and help Cyprus, Israel, eventually Lebanon, and maybe even Syria to develop their offshore reserves. There's plenty of gas there, including offshore Gaza. And you can integrate that in the region, sell this gas to Egypt, to Jordan, to Israel, and eventually to Lebanon, but also either bring a pipeline via Turkey into Europe. That's one solution. Another solution, develop LNG. And the third solution, to build a pipeline from Cyprus to Crete and from Crete to continental Europe. Which one of that will be feasible? Is Turkey going to play a role of a spoiler or of a positive actor? Remains to be seen.
Still, there is a rivalry between the Turkish stream and Southern Gas Europe. And we also witnessed before some tensions between Ankara and EU. So how do you think, which steps should EU take to remove this tension and to persuade Turkey to choose the positive one?
Turkey wants to be a transit country. It wants also to be a hub. And Putin is playing into that desire for Erdogan to become the gas sultan of the former Ottoman area. But Turkey also needs to understand that without the European market, it cannot play that role. And the Europeans are not stupid. They understand their role as a big market for energy, big market for gas. They're threatening that they will develop the renewables to the point where the gas market will be extremely constrained and limited. And then the challenge will be for Turkey and also for the suppliers, Turkmenistan, Azerbaijan, eventually Kurdistan, possibly Iran, maybe to take this gas and seriously consider a strategic LNG option, meaning that this gas, if the Europeans are being so difficult to get, if they will put so many conditions on that market, that gas will become a global commodity. But again, Europe is the main destination for that commodity, and so is Asia. The United States has its own gas, a lot of it. We have a glut of gas. Therefore, the Europeans need to decide whose gas they want, and do they want piped gas, liquid gas, or they decide to go elsewhere, such as the renewables, which have a lot of problems in terms of their cost right now. But, for Europe, fighting the emissions and climate change is almost like a religion. And if they're willing to pay that price and reduce the pace of their economic growth, that's a pace. Unemployment and slow growth because of high cost of energy, that's their decision.
Let me ask you this, though. This question of gas appears to be new. I mean, we weren't talking about gas 10 years ago. We're talking about oil. Why is gas all of a sudden superseding oil in terms of importance?
Good question. And the simple answer is, one, gas is the source of electricity. Oil is not a source of electricity. Oil is a source of liquid fuel for cars, and as we transition, and I'm convinced that we're transitioning to electric transportation already. Where I live, in the suburb of Washington, D.C., every day I see more and more Tesla cars, Volt cars, it's a GM car which is electric, and other cars, Nissan. So gas is a source of electricity, and gas is not a global commodity. Oil, you can put on a tanker ship anywhere in the world. Gas, it's either a pipe, but increasingly it's LNG.
LNG, if I'm not mistaken, they liquefy it, they transport it, and they put it back in gas
Form.
So
Correct.
why can't they do that? Why do they need the pipelines?
There's economics. On certain distances, the pipelines are most profitable. Over large distances, over oceans, when you ship gas 10,000 kilometers from Qatar to China or to Japan or Korea, because there are no pipelines there, it's expensive, but you still ship it by
The
LNG.
process of liquefying it.
It also takes energy, and therefore it increases the cost vis-a-vis pipe gas.
Returning back to our previous talk about the Southern Gas Corridor, so I would like to ask you, so you just said that so Europe needs gas and sellers also need Europe because Europe is a large market. So here we are dealing with 50 to 50 sides. So the sides at table hold the same stakes, let's say. So how do you view the supplier side? Let's say which countries can be the most reliable source for European gas from this aspect?
For a long time, since 1960s, the Soviet Union and then Russia were the principal supplier, but Europe also diversified and brought gas from North Africa, from Algeria and Libya. Now they bring LNG from Angola, from Nigeria, etc. We can also bring gas now from the United States, and I believe that by 2018, 2019, there will be a traffic of tankers with liquid natural gas from the U.S. But what I see as the main challenge now for Europe is Russia's behavior. If Russia was not trying to subvert the European system by, for example, wholesale purchase of certain politicians, if Russia was not imposing its conditions in terms of destination clauses, meaning not selling to this country, to that country. If Russia was working out its problems and differences with Ukraine, Russia would have continued being the principal supplier of Europe with natural gas. I do believe that Azerbaijan, and the Caspian in general, Azerbaijan, Turkmenistan, maybe in the future Iran and Iraq, will be a tremendous competition for Russian gas. There's plenty of gas in Turkmenistan and in Iran.
And they keep finding more sources.
Indeed. And together, I think, between Turkmenistan, Iran, and Iraq, there are more gas, or as much gas, as in Russia. And that gas will be cheap because, for example, today, they're burning 60% of the Iraqi gas. It's incredible how many millions of dollars they're burning in the fields of Iraq. So if you collect that gas, put in a pipeline to Turkey and then to Europe, you got a whole other 60 BCM, 60 billion cubic meters supply. And of course, they're not doing it because of the IS and other political issues. But theoretically, Turkey is in a very good position to be that transit and hub country for the region. And again, the approach, in my view, that they need to take is approach of cooperation, of good relations, because it is the political reliability and diminishing the political risk that makes you a desirable supplier.
How do you view the perspectives of future cooperation, or let's say balancing of political relationship between Europe and Russia? So do you expect in the nearest future the sides to sit at a table of talks and achieve removal of sanctions?
the issue of Russia and Russian behavior is a direct function of how much money Russia has in the bank. Even when they say, oh, we don't care about this, we don't care about Ukraine, we don't care about the United States, I tend to believe, based on historic experience of the Soviet Union, that the moment the current $300 billion turn into zero, if they burn their reserves, they will change their tone and they will start negotiating in a more cooperative fashion. If you remember, as they do, that in the 1990s they say, we made deals and decisions that we don't like, so now we want to change and renegotiate. The Europeans are doing the same now. They're saying, oh, these take-or-pay clauses, this connection of the gas price to oil price, we don't like this anymore. We want to renegotiate that. Looking at it as a former lawyer, I say this is not a good approach because then you don't have the stability of agreement, stability of contract. Yeah. But it is a practice. And in this practice, I do believe that as Europe is improving its negotiating position, the Russians will have to step back, and in the end there will be a compromise of some kind. But currently we do see this lack of commitment to ship gas through Ukraine, and therefore putting pressure on Europe to accept projects like Nord Stream that goes directly from Russia through the Baltic Sea to Germany, and now the Turkish Stream that will go from Russia to Turkey and then to Europe.
One way or another, Europe will get its gas, whether it's from Moscow, whether it's from Azerbaijan, whether it's from Kazakhstan. There is enough gas to go around. The question is how to get it there.
I think they will get it in the nearest future.
Well, here's hoping for a better tomorrow.
Goodbye.